Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with my co-host,
DANK.
and we're here on the front lines in the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all of humanity for their own selfish and stupid reasons. How's it going, Tank?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Had a little bit of a rough day. I was struggling under the weather, but I finally recovered. I don't have a report from Kim, just so everybody knows. I'm not sure what the State of the Union is, to be quite
Okay,
honest.
well, I'm out of here. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, it's good for
Yeah,
everyone.
okay. Good show. Everybody have a good night. Yeah.
So I know there's a few people out there that just drop off, but I after that, but I don't think there's that many. I don't think there's that many.
Yeah, so what do you think about the interview there with Comey, basically outing himself for the what do you call the sloppiness of the FBI
where he admits that he was wrong, admits he was wrong.
Yes.
Admits that. And he also has his Bill Clinton meaning of is moment when he says, "Well, it depends what the meaning of vindicated is." Well, he didn't say the word vindicated, but that was a reference. It's like, well, he said because Chris Wallace said, "Well, the IG says you weren't vindicated." Well,
yeah.
I guess it depends on your meaning, your definition of the word, right? I guess it depends on your definition of the word, vindicated.
Yeah.
And then he went on to explain it. Right? I said, "Well, what are you speaking? What language? You're not speaking English that everyone can understand? It's some form of our democracy language that only those in your democracy understand instead of the republic."
Yeah, it's fascinating, this whole debacle. I really, when does making false accusations against a sitting president? I mean, when does that cross over into criminality, right? Where defamation of character, and I really want these people to be held liable. Some of the things they say. That the latest is I think this is the latest thing, is what they're doing with this whole impeachment nightmare is they brought the pieces of it. They said, okay, it's abuses of power, and then they say, which is a vague, kind of ridiculous thing to say. It's like, what are you basing it on, right? I mean, like, they're abusing power right now, right? They're abusing their power to stall, right? So they're just stalling and stalling and stalling. But they're actually accusing President Trump of wiretapping fraud or of some kind, right? And which is so ironic, right? Because here is a president who, when he was just the presidential candidate, he was being illegally wiretapped.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, of course, that's exactly. Well, there's wiretapped and then wire fraud are two different things, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I think they're just using the play on words, though. I think they're using the similar language so that people will associate their crimes with President Trump, right? Because that's the kind of thing they do. Right? They're always playing word games,
right?
So I think that's actually what the intention is. Like, they're just kind of putting it out there. So when people, because people, for the most part, they're kind of passively watching this, right? They're not really not many people are that engaged, So they bring up this ridiculous claim that he's, that when he and they keep saying things. It's like, it's so obvious, the pattern. They keep talking this way, right? And it's so ridiculous. I mean, have you ever seen a group that's easier to hate than these people? I mean, the smug arrogance of Comey and Schiff. The like complete delusional speech of Nancy Pelosi. Like, you never know what she's gonna. The other day, she's like, says something like, like she was on a stage and she's like, well, sometimes she goes, I'm not actually a lawyer, but sometimes I'm a lawyer. Sometimes I'm a doctor. And I'm like, which kind of proves my theory that, like, they're just actors, right? It's like,
they're just actors.
Yeah.
I'm not a congresswoman. I just play one on TV.
Right. So I think that's all just at this point, I'm trying to understand what how do you end up taking these people out? You really have to watch this play out in the court system for the next 4 years?
Well,
I mean,
Bill Barr, which I guess one of the cute revelations was that he was the stealth bomber, because there was some references to the B-2 bomber, right? So it was Bill
right.
Barr, BB. So that's the stealth. So he's no longer stealth. He's out there. So he gave an interview, and he said, well, these things take time, and had a big smile. I mean, it was a priceless smile too. It was like a Cheshire cat smile. The grinning ear to ear.
We don't have time. And so that to me is just so fascinating. It's like,
well, we're talking about government, right, and bureaucracy, and by its nature, it's. You look at a woolly mammoth and you think it's going to be going very fast. Well, just increase the size to 1 billion. And then you have the government, right? It just moves like watching grass grow. I mean, it just doesn't move. And so, yeah, I want it now. I want it done. But this is what we're watching. But at least we've got a TV guide. The Q guide, and it's telling us. Get your popcorn ready. This channel is coming up. This is the next movie that's coming up. FISA Gate, Spygate. So because it's all about waking up the people, and the people are just literally just wiping the sand from their eyes.
Well, I mean, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's not an excuse. I mean, we're right at the cusp of something, right? This is really where you have to call some kind of tribunal. You have a takeover that is taking place, right?
Right. Oh, I agree.
And granted, it's falling apart, but it can't fall apart fast enough, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because every single day, we have kids being snatched up by Child Protective Services, 700 kids a day getting taken from people's homes, right? We have forced vaccination. Hey, but New Jersey had a big win. All right, go Jersey. It was like 11,000 people, or like thousands of people from Jersey protested.
Really?
The removal of their fundamental rights, of their First Amendment rights, or First Amendment rights.
They protested it, so that it stopped it.
Stopped it, yeah. Stopped it, or at least got prolonged until January, right? But they think whatever they're going to do. I'm about to start pushing some of that here in New York a little more aggressively. We actually went through. We got the feedback from National Liberty Alliance, so they're accepting the Lawful America sites and the evidence as it's stated, and we are sending them the bullet point of the actual plea, right? So this is what we are. The reason why we think there's a need for a grand jury to be called, and Michelle Walker pulled that together, and we're going to finish that up today after the call, and have that notarized first thing in the morning, and that'll be sent out through multiple channels, and get that going.
Awesome.
Pretty excited about that. Yeah. And there's definitely just cause for a grand jury to be pulled together to deliberate and bring charges. And that will be inclusive of the CDC, the HHS, the FDA, I guess the NIH, which I'm not sure if that's the same as the HHS or what, but as well as Governor Cuomo. I'm sure we'll be hanging out here soon talking about it. We are definitely going to, we have dug into the Constitution enough to be like, you do not have the rights to take these rights from the people. It is so obvious. It's really absolutely ridiculous to me that anyone thinks that that's okay. But then, I sent you an article about the
10 planks.
Yeah, the 10 planks, and I was like, wow, this really is us. I had no idea.
Yeah, they've already completed their conversion of us to communism. Yeah. So it's just there's a lot of us that don't agree, and there hasn't been the violent uprising. So normally this comes with a violent a violent overthrow, and they're trying to also be this make this not happen, right, as a violent overthrow. So yeah.
Right. Here's the Communist Manifesto, complete with very cool little graphics here. The abolition of private property in land application. That was done in the 70s. Having progressive graduate income tax. Obviously, our income tax is out of this world and doesn't even go to our government. The abolition of all rights of inheritance. That one, you can't pass property anymore, right?
You can't pass anything. You can't pass your clothes. Not even the clothes. Not even the clothes on your back. It's not owned by you. It's owned by the state. That's why my Chinese partner, whenever we're dealing with China, he says, you have to remember everything, every little piece of paper is owned by China. You own nothing.
Wow. Yeah. So they're pretty far along. So centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of national bank and state capital, and an exclusive monopoly. Obviously, that's happening. Those are the non-compete laws that they have, right?
Right.
Centralization of the means of communication and transportation in the hands of the state. Well, that's why you have licensing, right?
Right. Well, centralization is the key to communism, right? It's a central authority. Just think pyramid structure, right?
Yeah.
That's
extension of factories, wow, and instruments of production owned by the state, bringing into cultivation of wastelands and the improvement of the soil, generally in accordance with a common plan. I guess that's when FDR gave over all the parks and stuff, right?
Right. Well, they also go after the farmers, right? Because that's usually what they're also going after the food, right? The food production. Right, and then and usually the farmers are being mistreated, and so they go from that standpoint, right, and say, well, now the farmers need to unite. It's one of the rallying cries.
Yeah,
but I think
in comment.
I just noticed that Trump has made a big effort to make sure that the farmers are taken care of. Right, so that's a lot of what he's been doing is making sure that the farmers get taken care of.
Yeah. So, and then this one kind of seems like a good one, you'd think, right? Like abolition of children's factory labor, I think would be good, but maybe not current, but definitely.
Well, there's always some good things. Thrown in,
Yeah.
Well, overall, the idea of communism is also, it's kind of like it's like a promise, right, to keep you a child. The government's going to take care of you now. They're the new parent, right? So you don't have to worry about anything, right? So because of that, they're going to go ahead and make sure you're taken care of.
Right.
But
yeah, well, Joe Biden was he just talked about this, how if he becomes president, he will do away with charter schools, which basically takes away people's opportunity to choose, where their kids.
Well, you're not allowed to be exceptional. You're not allowed to be better than anyone else.
No, of course not.
Right? Because everyone is the same, including the politicians. Politicians, they're exactly the same. Except they have all the power and all the money, and they get to decide everything about your life. Besides that, they're all the same.
Right. It's the Harrison Bergeron story that everybody's equal. If you're really intelligent, you have little things hooked up to your ears, so loud noises blast in your ear whenever you have a coherent thought. If you're really good looking, you wear ugly masks. If you're really strong, you have to walk around weighted. Right? Because if anyone's exceptional. And that way, and when you watch TV, it's like, there's a ballet on, and it's like, well, they did as good a job as anybody else would have done. Right? It's like no one's allowed to be exceptional or to be unique in any way.
Right. Well, and that's where the truth is that we're not all equal in every way. We're all equal in, say, our rights, to live, to pursue happiness, everything outlined in the Constitution. We're equal on that basis. Anything we're not, dividing up people by, hey, you're this skin color, so you're only 2/3 of a human, whatever, that part, which is not even in our original Constitution, that came later. But this, this idea that everyone has exactly the same abilities is wrong. Well, for example, I cannot have a baby, right?
Right.
I cannot.
Good point.
Right? And half of the population cannot have a baby. The other half can. Well, one and the other side can't be a father to a child, and the other half can. So we're not equal. Where we have equal rights to live and pursue happiness. But beyond that, when you start having the government come in and say, hey, look at those guys over there. They have something over on you. Let me fix it.
Yeah, let me fix it.
Let me fix it.
Don't worry, I'll come to the rescue, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna make it all okay. But really, they're not. They're gonna take for themselves. They're feeding you a lie, because in the first place, you're not equal. You're not the same. Again, equal in rights. But
I hate the term equal, because equal means the same as.
Yeah,
right?
The same as.
Well, people are not created equal. That's not true, right? Because you have people that are going to be naturally bigger, stronger. You have people that are going to be naturally smaller and more intelligent. You just have, or not even necessarily intelligent, they're going to be more prone to different types of intelligence, right?
Right.
Like some people are, Howard Gardner made this, professor out of Harvard made this argument years ago, saying that, there's multiple intelligences and you can't measure all intelligence the same way, right? So some people are going to be naturally gifted,
right.
Athletically. Well, I would say that's a form of intelligence, right? Some people are naturally gifted as artists, and that's a form of intelligence.
Yeah. And there's things that people have strived to learn in their life, and others have not. So, let's say in mathematics, engineering, right? So because someone learned that and put their effort in, and it's a very specialized skill that is highly valued in the society, they get paid more, right?
Yep.
But someone that decided that they wanted to become an engineer and learn mathematics, and they were really lousy at it, right? They go into that marketplace and say, well, I put in the same work. They still don't have the same ability. Right? So they may work in that industry, or they may fail. But that's on them and their abilities and what they have. So we're not all equal. So what we need is to have a government that doesn't infringe upon our abilities to do the best that we can and create the life that we want. We to say we want them to make it better, is dangerous. We have to be very measured in the things we want government to do. Regulate trade with other countries. Great. There's a place. Building roads. Well, okay. Well, that seems to be some mixed results, because they can build them really well in places, and other places there's a lot of corruption, and that corruption ends up making those roads dangerous. They don't put the right mix in the cement, so it falls apart. People are skimming. So, is it really the best? I look at I remember in the earthquake in Los Angeles. It's actually in Northridge, but it hit Los Angeles, knocked down a section of the main freeway, one of the main freeways, the 10th. Right, it was kind of right in on the west side of things. The whole piece dropped down. That was where it had to be repaired, and repaired quickly. So the the government of California has their Caltrans, where they're people that build the roads and build the bridges, and they were giving estimates of like 2 years to get it rebuilt, right? and the mayor of Los Angeles said no way, right? So he bypassed the government and went and got private contractors, and they got it done in 2 months. So this is something that is where government doesn't do things well, right? It's the structure of government is mediocre at best results across the board. So the private company got it built better, faster, better, higher quality, right? And because they're competing to say who can do things better than the other. This kind of competition is what I say is a good form of competition. I used to come down on the side of good versus bad competition, right? And then I later modified my language later after going to CEO space when they say all competition is bad, right? And they have a different framing of the argument, which I adopted over here. But for the sake of not all competition, from that perspective, you can look at things differently and have a different viewpoint. But this idea of competition actually ends up making the companies try to outperform the other. I have a completely other thought of how to create a place where the competition is done in a different way that promotes the development of higher quality products and services, right? But again, this is me outside of government doing it. Instituted in government, it becomes problematic because governments tend to be corrupt. The people that go into government also tend to want to do things by having power over other people. I mean, the reason that they're drawn into it is for the power, not to help everybody. I wish we had a filter that we could, put on everyone, and they say, okay, this guy is obviously just there for themselves.
Yeah, good point.
So
yeah,
I see you're having some problems staying on the show here. You keep dropping off. So.
No, yeah, I kept off. I come home. There's like some kind of bubble around my house. So.
Oh well, I thought the bubble came down, and maybe that was just a problem.
I thought it did. It must have been that good night, I guess.
Yeah, the shield generator blew a fuse, and so they had to go in and repair it.
Right. It's the funniest thing. I go 2 houses down. Everything. Or not. I go next door. It's just my house. Just my house. It's so annoying. Yeah. Anyways. So I feel like everything's pretty lit up in the public sector here of what the show that we're watching, which is like it's like how to destroy a government 101 right now by the Democrats. It's like I feel like they've just been given orders to stall as long as possible. Like just keep making accusations. No one will figure it out. So crazy.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the government is way too big. But how do we deal with it in a way? Because we've progressed, in a way, in technology. We've got, this the internet, for example. How can we, harness the internet and still be able to do things better in government, than and without allowing the government to get even more corrupt, like what we're experiencing with these FISA courts, and that this should never have been. There should never have been, a place where we're going to not have the other side. You can't just go and spy on people, right? and all of this information that's put out there, we need to have, the rights of people not to gift out their data just because someone's offering them click a button here, right? This convenience factor, right? It should be disallowed, that no one's allowed to collect this data. Everyone is they can collect data from an anonymous function, right? I mean, if you're looking at buying things and doing all this kind of stuff, you're as soon as you, which is like what you're experiencing, like in Google, like you're just in the room and you happen to say something about now all the advertising, so I need a new pair of shoes, right? And then all the ads appearing on your screen are all about new pairs of shoes. This is where it extends too far into where they take that data and now determine what kind of shoes they want you to have. Right?
Right.
And then they're manipulating you into a position. So this is where they've gone too far, and so there has to be a barrier there that doesn't allow for it. The things that would go out and say, okay, let me give you an example. Let's say I had my own AI, that it was mine, right? And it would do things for me. Like I need a new pair of shoes, right? It would go out and look for the kind of shoes that it knows that I like, but it doesn't share that information with everyone else, right? So there's a way of
if we had personalized AI, we had like our own personalized AI.
Well, it's going to happen. I mean, it basically will happen, but we have to be prepared to create that legal system that would allow for that to happen, where it's not allowed to go the other way. It's absolutely forbidden, and there's not even one time you can click OK and have it be OK, right? For that to happen, it's not.
It comes down to there is an educational process, right? So you have education versus indoctrination, right? So we've been indoctrinated to accept this is the way it is, right? You just have to accept it. No one, hardly anyone even thinks to say no. We get pulled over. We are immediately, compliant. We don't want any problems. We don't want to go to jail. Everybody's afraid,
right,
of the consequences that are constantly put in our face, right? We watch these things.
Look what happens if you're one of the people that don't have a license plate, right? Because you're traveling in your personal conveyance and you're not a driver and you don't have one of these pieces of papers that say that you're a driver doing a commercial enterprise on the road, right, on the public road. You're just traveling, so you don't have the license, you don't have the license plate, and you get pulled over. What do? Right? They bring 20 cop cars, a helicopter, a SWAT team, right? And they surround you, and I was in an experience like that, right? That where I was sitting next to the one that was controlling the car and searching for the right word to call it. I don't want to say.
I spent the night in jail and got strip searched because I didn't pay an inspection sticker.
Yeah.
Ticket.
Yeah. So this overbearing, overreach that they do to create fear and to create this experience is tyranny. This is terrorism against the people.
But not only that, but there's not even a benefit really anymore because in New York today, there's lines down the street for DMV, and I forget the number. I want to say it's several thousand people that are they're illegal aliens here, and Cuomo made a way for them to get licenses, right? So now they'll be able to go and vote basically because no one's going to even care.
Sure.
So, yeah, sure.
Well, that's the whole point, just for them to go vote.
Right. And nobody looks at the long term because right now, the urgent need is so overwhelming that people don't even have I want to say the right, but the luxury of thinking, wait, how is this going to affect me long term, right? So they don't even realize what's going to happen. If they get all these illegals that are going to be here, and what will be the result, right? What will be the long-term result? Well,
right.
Basically what you have now is you have Americans that are working, they're still paying income tax fraudulently, which is illegal or unlawful, right? We're paying, and it doesn't even go to the government. Then on top of that,
right.
We're paying additional taxes, like in the state taxes, that they're using to take care of the poor, immigrants that come in. And they're saying that, right? Oh, the poor immigrants, it's inhumane that you don't want to take care of them. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, why would I have to work hard to make money and then give it away? And basically say, what? It just doesn't make sense, right? No matter how you slice it, like, it's not a racial issue.
Right.
It's a reality issue of like, no, man, like I work, like part of just being free is that I get my wages. But part of communism is everybody works. Some people are going to work really hard. Some people are not going to work at all. But everyone's going to be taking care of this thing, is basically what it comes down to. So that's what they're doing. Implementing full-blown communist regime.
Yeah, and then everything will be worked down to the lowest common denominator, and then you have the same kind of societies you see in Hunger Games.
Right.
You got these big cities that all the elite are living in, and everyone that's living out in the heartland in these squalor conditions, right? Everything is turned over. So that is what they're trying to create, right? That there's the people, and then you're not they're not even allowed to hunt, right?
Right.
But they hunt, but they are hunting, but they're not allowed to.
Right. Exactly. So my favorite headline today is Chuck Schumer coming out and really wanting a fair trial in the Senate.
I know it's very comical. I think that the Graham should basically put together one where the Democrats don't get to call witnesses. The Republicans have all the witnesses in a bunker, right? And then they do things. Don't let any Democrats in at all, right?
Right.
No, it's not fair. We're not trying to be fair, just like in the House. We're just kind of demonstrating, But it's okay. We're going to do it this way.
Well, actually, that would be fair because that's what you guys just did,
right?
So if you look at fair and you want to be equal, so fair and balanced, like, well, this is what you did, so we're going to follow the procedures that you have now established as a new standard, right?
Now, I don't really think they're going to do it this way, but it's good to just bring it up and say it should be that we're able to do this, but obviously we're not going to. They're going to have the trial. I think that they're going to have it. I think they're going to have the trial as a long trial. I think that this talk of Graham saying that he wants to make it short and sweet, I think is just a way so that they can make sure that the Democrats don't back out of impeachment. So they're gonna try and make it over as soon as possible. No. He said he's not gonna call Adam Schiff and all that. So if Graham was out there saying, yeah, we're gonna get Adam Schiff in there, then that might sway them from not impeaching Trump at all. They just go back to censure.
I would love to see Adam Schiff interviewed properly, under oath by like Jim Jordan or Matt Gaetz, as they just run up and down every single thing he has to say. They're only the only illusion that they have power right now is because they've just been able to avoid any real confrontation, any real challenge. They lie constantly. Adam Schiff was on the news the other day talking about, he didn't know about these FISA court abuses. He didn't know anything about it.
Oh, amazing! But that was already proven a lie. You know, so
Yeah.
I mean, they're just lying in front of the camera just to hold on to a few people that are still believing them.
I mean, well, once it's proven that you've lied, right? Now, they're the only ones that are in clear violation of their oath of office is this whole Democratic, nightmare that's taking place, the Democratic deep state. It's like you're watching them implode right in front of everybody, right? And it's kind of comical, I guess. I mean, it's a tragic comedy of sorts, But I don't know. It's got to change. Something's got to give. I don't see why. If someone has committed a crime, I mean, how can anyone look at what Joe Biden said in front of everyone, boasting about how he, how he basically leveraged funds against this whole country to force them to stop an investigation on his son. And now, that's gone further. So now there's something going on with Biden's son. There's some kind of murder or something that took place. I forgot. I just saw a minute ago.
Other than his new baby.
No, but there's a high level kidnapping going on that relates back to the same exact people. It connects back to Biden.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And there was I also saw this from Charlie Kirk, which I thought was really great news. So Seattle has the third largest homeless population in the country, right? And so they spent taxpayer dollars on this event in the name of multiculturalism to have this morbidly obese transvestite stripper come and perform at some meeting. And they all thought it was great fun. They were all having a blast. It was a debacle. And I just was trying to imagine if Trump did something like that, what would it be like in the news,
Yeah, it's the reverse of everything that they do. Everything is just the opposite. I'm so done with them. I think everyone is getting to that state, right? People are waking up. Oh, I saw also Candace Owens in looks like Great Britain, and she brought a bunch of other conservative blacks with her, and they were doing like this this encounter, right? And people answering questions, and there was some Labor Party people there, and Candace Owens gave it to them and said, "Don't give me those lazy arguments." Don't be. She's calling them lazy arguments. Anyway,
really?
Yeah, it was brilliant, because the guy was saying repeating the same old stuff, right? You said why? You said I'm not privileged. Why are you incorporating that all on me? I'm not privileged. I'm doing this, and your views are lazy. He said she told him to go out and get a job. Anyway.
Yep.
Anyway, it's hard to encompass what everything that she was saying. But I thought it was interesting that they're bringing the show on the road, right? Right, getting to go to the UK and working on the conservative victories there, because this is really a worldwide event, right? That's what we're really talking about. We're talking about changing the world into, and it just happens to be against communism, and the whole mentality about the two sides, the haves and the have-nots. Great, right? But don't put those on the political classes, right? Don't make it about the politics of someone. If someone is a banker, you want to say, okay, well, you're a banker, you're from the banking community. Well, that's probably valid to say.
Right.
That they're from the haves versus have-nots. You could say that, but there's a lot of poor bankers. You gotta be more specific, and you say
Yeah.
in general we can identify, the problem being in the financial system, right? That of course has a lot of bankers in it,
Right, of course, right.
right? And we
Well,
address what the issues are, right? We don't want a debt-based, system that feeds on us like they're parasites. That this is not good. Let's bring the argument around that. Let's focus on that, and not like who has money and who doesn't have money.
well, I was thinking about this with freedom of speech, right? So the whole idea behind freedom of speech is that I am free to look at the same information you're looking at and draw my own conclusions, that are, have my own opinion, right? Like I can have my own opinion about, what makes God happy, right? I can have my own opinion about, how to raise my kid, right? As long as I'm not abusive.
No problem with that, as long as it lines up with exactly what I feel.
Right, exactly what I feel. Right, but where it gets to be a problem, and this is where it's a fine line with what is happening now. It's like why, can we really continue to allow this nightmare where politicians get up and just say things that are clearly fraudulent? They're clearly fraudulent. They're lies about other people. We have them, like homies in an interview and just confused.
Why are they not under oath when they start their day? Why are they not under oath to not lie, cheat, or steal? I mean, be in honor, integrity. Why are they not taking an oath at the beginning of every session? They should all be sworn in. Really?
Well, and they try to compare Trump being a salesman to inaccuracies and lies. It's like, no, it's not. It's like this is a very different. It's very different when you're intentionally trying to destroy someone you are trying to hurt them. This do no harm. It's the number one principle of the Republic. Do no harm, right?
Right.
And that's what they're doing. I mean, they're doing harm on a massive scale. This is why we can't be a democracy. Because a democracy, what happens is it's the pop. If 51% of the people say yes, and 49 say no, we go with yes. Well, those 51% of the people, how do you know they even knew what the issues were or what was going on? Or because if the mainstream media is constantly perpetuating lies all the time, basically people have misguided views, right? Mm-hmm. They don't know what's real because they're being lied to all the time. And if we don't actually hold them accountable as criminal, I mean, it's criminal, right? Yeah. And I gotta see what that's all about. But to actually have, to constantly lie about the government. I mean, it is something to be said about that. It usurps the authority, right? So it's called usurpation or whatever. Where you usurp the authority of the government. They have made our government completely stagnant by lying all the time.
Yeah, well, they're filled with lawyers, right, which are trained to lie, right? So that's the start of it. So no lawyer should be in government at all.
That's right. That's the original 13th Amendment, right?
Yeah. No, actually, it goes. Yes and no. It was really a separation, saying no titles of nobility, which included attorneys, right? But also, in the very beginning, there was this argument of the separation of the different bodies. So you had the judicial, which had the attorneys and the courts and the judges, right? So, so they should not be in Congress, right? So part of that problem that existed is that from the beginning, they knew that there should be a separation, because the lawyers write all the rules and only they can understand them, and that's why they can charge so much money. Because they put everything in another language, right? Legalese. And then how are you supposed to basically know what you're supposed to be doing in court? You're an imbecile, so you have to have an attorney to represent right? Because they've made it complicated. What's so complicated about do no harm?
Right.
Right. Yeah, if you did harm, okay, what was it? I stole. I cheated. I lied. You know, those things could be figured out by the jury of your peers, which should be like your next door neighbors. You know what? If you're interfacing with the people in your block, right? They're the ones that choose. Hey, we got 13 jurors, right? Everyone on your block, come out end of the day. All right, this is what happened. Boom, you lay it out. So that's where things should be, and we can get there. Again, this is where technology can be put into play. Right, your peers may be beyond a geographical area, in that case, but your peers are people that you're interfacing with, right? And they're, you might want to say if it's a plumber's problem, right? And so maybe it's a bunch of plumbers and plumbing customers that get to choose, or decide. They decide who's at right and wrong. The judge is only there for to give the sentence, not to judge. The judgment is made by the people.
Oh, supposed to be. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about. So to get rid of make sure the democracy is boxed up and buried, right? And that the republic is what everyone is acting out of. So every time I hear these people, I say, "What are they doing to our democracy?" Right? Because that's what they're talking about. They're talking about that entity, that faux government. The de facto government.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's such an abomination right now. To me, with these Democrats coming out and they're voting. So they voted to impeach right today, and or I guess today, but I guess they have a formal vote on Wednesday, right? But what's so fascinating is they're I studied both sides and I decided that he's violated his oath of office. How? He has done more to uphold the Constitution than any president that I've ever known in my whole lifetime. He's brought everything back to constitutional law. So what Constitution are they talking about? Right. The one where you get to just lie about the president no matter what? What a train wreck.
Yep. That's basically what we're experiencing, a train wreck in slow motion.
Right, exactly.
It's like, oh no, it's gonna hit. So come back and get some more popcorn. It's still sliding in. All right. Well, anything else we should talk about? Are we good?
I will say that we have officially delivered and sent out notice to every single head of Department of Education in the country to let them know that they are in violation of the Constitution. We have done that through the post office, through official means. So we will make that letter public very shortly so that other people in local communities can identify that, because we charge them with the responsibility to that they are liable individually. And what we basically are saying is that every single individual in every school who works for a school who enables the facilitation of vaccines, the mandatory vaccines, that is, against the will of the parents, or because that's part of what they're doing, and they're forcing them, leveraging these kids to stay home, right? And they're forcing them to stay home and denying them their right to an education. That the individuals will be held liable both criminally and in civil courts as well. So that is a whole other process of liens being placed on people's homes and things of that nature. And that is all very real, and that is actually outlined as a process that must be followed to reinstate the grand jury properly. And that is in the Constitution. In the Constitution it says, without question, that you cannot do these things, right? You cannot take someone's fundamental rights, even in a state of emergency. And here's another little piece that made my day today that a lovely woman, Michelle, said. Not Michelle Walker, but a different Michelle. And this is actually from Section 17 of the congressional mandates, right? And it goes through this whole thing about the powers that they have, right? And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but what it says is, it says the Legislative Assembly shall have no power to release or extinguish in whole or in part the indebtedness, liability, or obligation of any corporation or individual to the district or to any municipal corporation therein, nor shall the Legislative Assembly have power to establish any bank of circulation, nor to authorize any company or individual to issue notes for the circulation as money or currency. Now, it's talking about they don't have the ability, so in addition to the whole currency, which is a whole different animal, but it's saying that they don't have the rights or the ability or the authority to remove liability from a corporation. So this law that goes back to 1986, they violated their own contractual obligation, their own oath, because their mandate says they cannot do that. And then they turned around and created a law that allowed them to do that. But it's not a real law. So that's what we're channeling. So that's pretty exciting when I found that, when that was given to me. So thank you to Michelle for providing that to me.
Yes, awesome. No, that's interesting. So, how is the signups going for Lawful America?
Well, we're being blocked on every single platform. If you write Lawful America, you can almost guarantee that it's not going to get seen right now. But we have some email campaigns going out, and we are on the ground. And we're, stand to reason, we just notified every single, Department of Education, the head of the Department of Education, that they are going to be held financially and criminally liable if they don't inform everyone in their school that, who works in their school, that if they think about the situation we just set up, okay? As the whatever it is, the superintendent or the head of the Department of Education for every state, they've now told everyone in the schools that children must be vaccinated. They must have this vaccine no matter what. They can't come to school, right? Then they turn around and they get notice that what they just did violates the Constitution and is in fact an act of treason that they will be held accountable for, and so will every one of those people. So now, and then we inform them that you are responsible, you're liable to inform those people. So now he can either ignore it, which makes it easy because immediately we can go in and press charges, go to the sheriff's office and say this individual has been notified and he's ignored it, and we have proof from the post office, which is really the highest association or branch or organization, I guess, in the U.S. So they either if they notify people, right, they notify everybody in their district, well then everyone in their district is now going to be like, wait, this is violating a law, but you're telling me to violate the law, right? You can't do that. You can't do that. So that should go a long way to nullify a lot of this stuff.
Yep. Well, congratulations again. That's very powerful. I wish I was able to go door to door there right now and help move that forward. All right. And that's great. Now, the only thing I can add to what's going on is, of course, I am in need of a couple of my bills need to get paid very quickly. I'm running out of time. Basically, right, for me, it's Tuesday. My shut-off day is the 21st, so that's Saturday. So I've got to get these things taken care of in the next 3 days. So if anyone is looking to make donations, a lot of small donations will add up. You know, the PayPal address is listed there. Please go ahead and use it, or go to www.wga.love and look for the memberships, and you can give donations through there, or send it for a monthly small amounts. But that would be very helpful at this time. I still have 1 week to go before the launch of the new system here, so I believe that in the short period after that, everything should be okay, and I can actually start reversing this process and start the donations out the other way.
I'm excited about the platform. Hearing what you're about to do, I think it's gonna be very successful.
Yeah, I've been showing a few people. They're excited. It's I design very broadly and then try to scale back to the main point, and so it's looking good. A lot of things there where I finished a lot of the governance part, which was dogging me for a couple weeks, trying to manipulate in a way of how it works for that side. But I'm happy how it's turning out. It's it's almost like creating a government.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, I think we're moving in the right direction.
There we are.
So, but just to make sure, there's 4.5 months till the basically catastrophic end of everything. So, you know what? Approach every day with a little bit of urgency. Just FYI. So,
yeah, I'm urgently pushing right now.
Good, I love it. All right, Dan, you have a good night, and everybody, peace out from New York.
All right, bye everyone.